Hello and welcome to a fresh episode of Research Plus Practice. Shashwat and I are very happy to receive your thoughts and feedbacks. In fact, I was pleasantly surprised to look at the comments we received for our last two videos on organization culture. Honestly, I did not think our viewers would be so interested in that topic because the response was very, very interesting. Now, while going through those responses, Shashwat and I found a very interesting thing. Some of you wrote to us how you felt a particular kind of organizing style, say the family or the clan style is better. Some of you wrote and suggested that the market kind is better. Now, you would remember in that video I shared with you that it is not that which one is better, but it is essentially what is more useful and what kind of culture you want to set up in your own organization. But that made me thinking, and that became the basis for this episode of Research Plus Practice. So an answer is essentially an answer that clan is better or market is better is essentially in response to a question. So what questions were our viewers asking, or what question a viewer was trying to answer when he suggested that clan is better than market or market is better than clan? And essentially what I'm trying to build upon in this video is that please realize one of the greatest strengths of any decision maker or manager is in asking the right questions. If you ask the right questions, there is a good chance you'll find the right answers. Let me give you a couple of examples. All of you would have heard of Walmart. So Walmart has these big mega stores in US. And in 2007-8, they undertook an initiative to increase the footfalls in their stores. Now, I've referred to an article which captures this effort, and that is available in the description link. The link is available in the description of this video. And this initiative was that, there were managers who were trying to understand how can they increase the footfall in Walmart. And they looked at their peers and they found that unlike them, their peers had very neat stores, very well stacked columns, and in Walmart they had huge variety, lot of SKUs. Sometimes things were falling off, and so there was a lot of clutter. Now, in their wisdom, they felt that if we can make Walmart less cluttered, maybe we can increase footfalls. So one observation of looking at their store and finding it not to be as neat and clean as their competitor, a question that maybe clutter is what is reducing the footfalls. And they did a survey and they asked people, would you like to see your Walmart less cluttered? What do you think the response would have been? More than 95% of the time, if you ask person such a generic question, he would say, yes, I would like to see my store less cluttered. And lo and behold, they went ahead with this initiative, and they reduced their inventory, they reduced the stocking varieties, and they made the stores much more neater and cleaner. What was the result? Well, the result was that the sales dropped and they had $1 billion losses. Now think about it. The reason for this failure was because there was a predisposition, or the question that someone tried to ask was, will you like to see the stores less cluttered? They perhaps did not go in the depths to understand that why in the first place the customer was coming for them. Maybe the customer was coming to them because they had this huge variety, they had this they had a lot of SKUs, and more importantly, there's sometimes joy, right? Pulling out that small piece that you wanted lying in a big shelf. So maybe people were just coming to Walmart because they gave them that variety. But because the question that was asked was clutter, the response was, please reduce the clutter. And that did not help the organization. So friends, essentially, your ability to ask the right question is what differentiates you from an okay, satisfactory manager or a decision maker to a good and an excellent manager and decision maker. In this video, we are just looking at a very small typology to understand what are the different kind of questions that one can ask.
So In any meetings and discussions, we ask a lot of questions. Have you ever wondered what are the different kind of questions we ask? Now, Polman and Thomas in 2015 wrote an interesting article where they shared that there are four kind of questions that we can look at for different objectives, and they are clarifying, adjoining, funneling, and elevating. According to them, any question has two basic parameters. One, what is the intent of asking the question, and whether you are trying to affirm what you already know or you're trying to discover something new. And second, what is the view of the problem, whether it is very narrow or has a very wide view of the problem. So across these two parameters, these four kind of questions can be structured as shown in this slide. So for instance, clarifying questions are asked to understand something better. So these questions like, can you tell me more, or why do you say something? These are questions which help you understand the problem better. Unfortunately, it is observed that that in many meetings, clarifying questions are not only asked. The reason sometimes being, if you have a very empowered meeting, it's presumed that people know about it, and so clarifying questions don't come up. And sometimes people are shy in asking them, thinking that if they ask very basic questions, what will others think about them? So clarifying questions are essentially where you're trying to affirm what is already known, but with a very narrow view of the problem. Adjoining questions are those which are used to explore related aspects or which are of the problem which may get lost in the discussion, or they help us understand and broaden the question base. For example, if you did market research in US on a certain group of customers, asking a question how those insights will be useful in say Asia or understanding customers in India is sort of an adjoining question. And every time that you do that, not only you widen the scope, but you also improve your appreciation and your understanding of some problem. Now look at funneling questions. Funneling questions are used to dive deeper. So when you want to understand and explore something in depth, or you want to do a root cause analysis, typically funneling questions are asked, right? How did you do this? Why did this happen? If this happened, then what will happen? These are like funneling questions, and these have very, very narrow focus, and you're trying to discover something. Now, in a meeting, many times you would have heard this, someone saying, okay, let's pause and take a step back. Now, typically in funneling, if you have dug a very deep trench, elevating questions can be when someone says, okay, let's pause and let's look at the broader picture. And those questions help you to reframe and reset your discussion. And there is where elevating questions raise to broader issues and highlight the bigger picture, where we do not get stuck in very, very narrow point of view for any problem. So these are four kind of questions which you can use for the different objectives that you might have in a discussion or when you are there in a meeting. And each of these questions have a different goal.
So that was a very simple typology of what are the different kind of questions and how you as a decision maker should take one or the other depending on the intent and the scope that you want to open out the discussion for. Please realize in the end of the day, you will get the right responses if you ask the right questions. And if you get the right questions, there is a good chance that you have an answer with yourself. So with that, keep practicing on your skill of asking the right questions, and do feel free to write to us to ask your questions. If you feel there is something Shashwat and I can answer, please share your questions and we will be happy to make our next video on your question. So until next time, goodbye and good luck.